Good day, America. And now, for the rest of the story. It was the 1940s. A world was at war, but innovation was already taking flight beyond pilots and planes, introducing a little-known revolution in the skies. I'm talking about drones. Yes, long before drones delivered packages or surveyed crops, some of the first mass-produced American drones were born in a modest factory in Van Nuys, California, in the hills just north of Los Angeles. These weren't the sleek flying cameras of today. No, these were made by a company called Radioplane, founded by a guy named Reginald Denny. Denny was a World War I British pilot from the Royal Flying Corps, and these were small radio-controlled unmanned aerial targets, little pilotless planes built to train anti-aircraft gunners. With a proven and lucrative military contract, soon filmmaker and pilot Howard Hughes took an interest. And being a multimillionaire, Hughes saw the potential for profit. He acquired a controlling interest in the little gold mine, which was already part of Northrop Aircraft. Soon, thousands of these unmanned aircraft were being churned out by the women who worked on the assembly line. Aircraft with no pilot on board, yet vital to training anti-aircraft gunners for the war. By 1945, some 15,000 of them were delivered to the military. Well, the man who oversaw U.S. Army public relations and wartime movies, a captain of the Army Air Force's first motion picture unit, was a man named Ron, and Ron was on a mission to boost public support for the war effort. One day he sent an Army photographer named David Conover into Reginald Denny's factory. They were after some PR photos they could use to tell stories of the young women helping the war effort on America's assembly lines. Thousands of women had stepped up to build the tools of victory, while men were on the front lines, and the Army needed some feel-good publicity for the war effort. Among them was a shy girl named Norma Jean Mortensen. She was a factory worker like many others. She spent her days and sometimes long hours on the assembly floor assembling these little planes so they could become artillery targets for anti-aircraft gunners. David Conover spotted her with a wrench in hand, and he took a few shots of the assembly line as she was installing a propeller, which was just the shot Ron was looking for. So David's photos that day were a hit. Photos that caught the eye of not just the military, but since both Dave and Ron knew people in the film industry, soon her face was all over America, showing how women were contributing to the war effort. It wasn't long before Norma Jean's face went from factory floors to movie stages and went on to become quite the celebrity. And Ron? Well, Ron got noticed too and eventually went from captain of the motion picture unit to governor of California, like another famous governor you all know. But Ron changed the face of American politics and economics. So, next time you see a drone in the sky, remember how its lineage stretches back to little cloth-covered, pilotless target drones built in a factory in California. In 1952, Hughes sold his interest in Radioplane for $2.6 million in cash, but Northrop went on to build the Flying Wing YB-49 and become Northrop Grumman, the makers of the B-2 Spirit bomber, the RQ-4 Global Hawk, and the X-47B carrier-launched air-to-air refueling drones. A few camera clicks by 25-year-old Dave Conover changed the course of that 19-year-old girl's life, because that face quickly became better known as Marilyn Monroe. And a 34-year-old captain named Ron, who commanded that Army Public Relations photography unit, would not just become a state governor, but one day sit in the Oval Office as President Ronald Reagan. And now you know the rest of the story.